I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here watching my whole life burn down on a screen. Let me take you back to when it all started. It was her 52nd birthday, and I had been planning this surprise for weeks. I thought I had everything under control. The flowers she loved, the dinner at the little Italian place she adored, the gift she'd been hinting at for months. But I had no idea that the moment I opened that door would be the exact second my world shattered. I came home early, carrying the bouquet in one hand and a wrapped box in the other. And there they were. Not in the living room, not in some hidden corner, but in our bedroom. My wife, the woman I'd loved since we were 22. Laughing with my best friend, David, the guy I'd trusted like a brother. My heart stopped mid-beat. The flowers dropped. The box slipped out of my hand. I froze, my throat tight. Problem. That instant, the exact moment I realized she was kissing him, was the problem. The pain came right after, as if it had been waiting all along, sharpening its edges. My chest hurt, my vision tunneled, and I could barely breathe. Every laugh, every shared glance, every year we'd built together flashed across my mind, tainted in one violent strike of betrayal. The solution, the only thing running through my head, was to make sure this wouldn't go unpunished. But I didn't know how yet. I just knew it had to be bad enough to matter. We had met back in 1992 at a summer job at the local hardware store. I was 22, fresh out of the Army Reserves, scrappy, trying to figure out life, and she was the confident, bright-eyed college girl with a quick smile and a laugh that could make anyone stop what they were doing. I never thought I'd meet someone who could make me feel whole at the same time as making me feel like a kid again. Love was instant, reckless, and all-consuming. We got married 2 years later, after a small ceremony at the church down the street. I remember staring at her in that cheap white dress and thinking, if I'd known then what I know now, maybe I'd have prepared myself for all the hidden cracks that no one ever talks about before saying, I do. But she was everything. She still is, on paper, still beautiful in that timeless way, and everyone who knew us envied the connection we seemed to have. We moved into the house on Cedar Lane, paid $135,000 for it with a 30-year mortgage, nothing fancy, but ours. I poured my heart into every corner, shoveling the driveway in winter, fixing the leaky gutters, painting the trim every spring. It was home, our home, and for a long time I believed it was safe. We had 3 kids, Jake, Emma, and little Sophie, although Sophie was 20 at this point and living in college apartments. I sacrificed a lot for them, working 60-hour weeks in construction, then later at the local manufacturing plant, climbing up to a supervisor's salary of $92,000 a year. I took on extra shifts, sometimes missing family dinners, sometimes sleeping in the truck in the lot just to keep health insurance intact. If I'd known then what I know now, I might have held back, kept something for myself, because it turned out all the years of sacrifice could be used against me by the person I loved most. My wife, meanwhile, worked part-time at a boutique, supplementing our income, mostly to maintain her independence, which I respected. I thought we were a team. I thought we were untouchable. And for years that was true, or at least it felt true. For the first 10 years, our marriage was everything you see in movies but hope to find in real life. Trust wasn't tested because there was nothing to test. I was content. We laughed in the kitchen over burnt dinners, danced in the living room on slow Sunday afternoons, and argued occasionally about money, who'd pick up the kids, or whose turn it was to fix the garage door. Those tiny cracks didn't matter then. I didn't see them. I didn't imagine they could grow into chasms. Doubt didn't even exist, or at least I never let it. Then came the small changes, the subtle absences, the phone that never left her side, the longer nights at the boutique under the guise of inventory. I brushed them off. Obsession, as it turns out, isn't just romantic. Sometimes it's hiding. Sometimes it's the obsession with appearances. Sometimes it's the obsession with secrecy. And I didn't see it coming. I should have. If I'd known then what I know now, I would have paid attention to the tiny, repeated behaviors. The sudden interest in new yoga classes she never told me about, the unexplained receipts for dinners I wasn't invited to, the little texts that she thought I wouldn't notice. But love blinds you, or maybe it just makes you willing to ignore what you don't want to see. Suspicion came late, creeping in like a cold draft under the door. It wasn't the flowers or the birthdays or the cash missing from joint accounts. It was the way she laughed at things I didn't understand. The way she looked at her phone like it held the world she wanted to hide from me. I started noticing details, David's visits increasing, the just grabbing coffee excuses stacking up. And then, around our 25th wedding anniversary, the first almost caught moment happened. I walked past the boutique after my late shift and saw them sitting in the back room, heads close, hands brushing across each other. They froze when I glanced through the window, pulling apart instantly, pretending to be counting stock. But the timing, the tension in the air, the way she avoided my eyes later that evening. I knew. I felt it in my gut, sharp as a knife. That gut feeling is something you learn to trust too late. If I'd known then what I know now, I would have started documenting everything, every bank statement, every call log, every strange text. I didn't. I trusted her implicitly, and that trust, once broken, burns hotter than any anger. Around 30% of this story, something twisted everything. For years, I assumed the affair was purely emotional. A longing, a spark, a desperate moment with David. But it wasn't just that. It turned out he had been funneling money through her boutique's account, small amounts at first, $2, $500 here, for $1,000 there. But over months, it added up to over $60,000 siphoned from our savings under the guise of reinvesting in inventory. She wasn't just cheating on me emotionally. She was betraying our family financially, risking the college funds I had painstakingly built for Emma and Sophie, the retirement fund for me, the life insurance money that was supposed to secure all of us. I stared at the spreadsheets, the bank transfers, the emails. They were meticulous, deliberate, and, in my mind, unforgivable. Pain. That same pain hit me like a ton of bricks when I realized not only had my heart been stolen, but my future had been mortgaged for their secret pleasure. Tell me in the comments, when would you have snapped? Because I reached a point where I didn't know if rage or numbness should win. We kept our routines, pretending normalcy, because I wasn't ready to explode yet. But the second almost caught moment came on Thanksgiving. David was invited over under the guise of helping with the turkey. And for 20 minutes, I watched them exchange glances over the pumpkin pie, as if they were conspiring in some game I didn't understand. My hands shook. I kept smiling. I kept passing the cranberry sauce. That night, I lay awake, counting heartbeats, replaying every laugh, every touch. If you've ever laid awake at 3 a.m. wondering if you're crazy, you know this feeling. I began to document obsessively after that night. Every text, every email, every bank withdrawal. I even started tracking David's schedule. Ironclad proof wasn't far off. I could see the pattern, the meticulous trail they left, and the guilt they thought they hid. But nothing could prepare me for what happened next. It all came to a head on her birthday. I wanted it to be perfect, to show her love and appreciation after decades together. I never imagined it would become the trigger for total exposure. She had gone out earlier that day for spa treatments, and I thought I'd surprise her at the house before dinner. I'd wrapped the gift, prepared the flowers, and even cleaned the garage. A small victory for someone who usually didn't have time for housework. The door opened, the scene unfolded, and my world turned upside down. Pain hit like a freight train, the kind that leaves you gasping and shaking, knowing that nothing could undo the damage already done. Rage simmered under the surface, but I forced myself to move, to breathe, to plan. Ice-cold revenge formed in my mind. Not violent, but public, undeniable, and final. Stay till the very end. Because what happened next still keeps me up at night. The first part of my plan was subtle: watch, record, confirm, document everything. She thought she was safe because she had time on her side, because she had our history to shield her. I knew better. I had the gut, the proof, and the patience to expose it all. And once I started, everything fell into place in ways I never could have imagined. The foundation of our life, the trust, the financial stability, the family's faith was crumbling, but I had one advantage. I knew every corner, every habit, every predictable move. And the more I watched, the more the cracks widened. My love for her didn't vanish, but it turned into something sharper. Determination. Determination to reclaim what was mine, what belonged to my children, and to make the betrayal visible to the world that mattered to us. If I'd known then what I know now, I would have started recording those moments years earlier, catching the first whispers of deceit. But hindsight, as always, is cruel. I had to settle for the final act, the exposure, the confrontation, the revelation that would leave no room for lies. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about justice, about restoring some semblance of fairness after decades of giving my heart, my sweat, my money, and my loyalty. Men over 50, we've given too many years to let this go. Keep listening. Because by the time the birthday candles were lit, by the time she smiled at me thinking everything was normal, I already had the narrative ready. I already had the proof that would make her world tilt, just like mine had tilted. After that birthday morning, everything shifted. I couldn't see her the same way anymore. Every laugh, every glance, every whispered word felt like a dagger, reminding me that the life I had built, brick by brick, was crumbling in real time. I spent the next weeks carefully documenting everything without tipping her off. Emails, text messages, call logs, receipts, bank statements, everything. I even hired a private investigator to confirm what I already suspected. The investigator, a quiet, efficient man named Marcus, tracked David's movements, documented visits, and collected proof of secret hotel stays and lunch meetings. Marcus's reports came back with photographic evidence and time-stamped locations that left no room for doubt. David and my wife had been meeting in ways I couldn't believe. Sneaking into the local hotel 2 towns over, ducking behind flower shops, whispering over coffee in crowded diners. Every almost caught moment they had narrowly avoided only fueled my rage. One morning, I even drove past the boutique unexpectedly, just to see if they were together. They weren't. But their nervous glances at the back room, the way she hurriedly shuffled paperwork as if hiding something, made my blood boil. If you've ever laid awake at 3 a.m. wondering if you're crazy, you know this feeling. And then came the twist I never anticipated. It wasn't just David. She had opened a secret account under her maiden name. At first, I thought it was a small thing, a few $100s here and there. But the more I dug, the worse it got. She had funneled thousands from our joint 401k, redirected parts of our life insurance premiums, and even skimmed cash from her boutique sales. Over months, it added up to over $87,000 siphoned from our accounts without my knowledge. I stared at the spreadsheets, each line a betrayal, each total a testament to the trust one had misplaced. Pain turned into something darker, an icy rage I didn't recognize in myself. If I'd known then what I know now, I would have monitored our finances more closely. I would have questioned her inventory adjustments and boutique expenses. I would have protected what was mine before it vanished. I also discovered that the theft extended beyond money. She had been quietly planning to move half of our retirement funds into this secret account to cover her future. All while I believed we were saving for Sophie's college tuition. My children were at risk of losing scholarships and tuition money I had worked decades to save. Emma was furious when I showed her the bank statements, while Jake, usually calm and collected, slammed his fist against the counter in disbelief. Sophie, away at college, was horrified when I emailed her the evidence. Watching my children's faces crumble with betrayal almost hurt more than my own. Men over 50, we've given too many years to let this go. Keep listening. At this point, I knew the next step had to be public exposure. I couldn't allow her to continue hiding behind lies, pretending nothing had happened. But I didn't act impulsively. I waited. I watched. I recorded. I documented every transaction, every hotel receipt, every whispered conversation, every almost caught moment. And they almost got caught more than once. One night, I returned home early, and they nearly tripped over me in the living room. David ducked behind the couch, and she pretended to be looking for a misplaced scarf. My heart was racing, my hands shaking, but I didn't confront them then. I needed total control. The second major almost caught moment was worse. I followed David one evening to a hotel 2 towns over. From the parking lot, I watched him leave the car and enter the lobby. She was already inside, sitting at the bar, pretending to be meeting a client. If she had looked up just once, she would have seen me staring from the window, binoculars pressed to my eyes. But luck was on their side. Or perhaps my patience forced them into a false sense of security. That night, I drove home, silently furious, plotting the perfect exposure. Finally, the day came when I could no longer hide the evidence. Her birthday, a day I had intended for love, for celebration, for decades of shared history. Instead, it became the stage for my strategy. I slid the folder across the kitchen table, containing everything: screenshots, recordings, bank statements, photographs, hotel receipts, and a detailed timeline. Her face turned pale, and for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. She stammered, trying to fabricate excuses, trying to weave a narrative that would save her. But the proof was irrefutable. My calm, white-hot determination left no space for her lies, and that's when I realized how much power public exposure could hold. I crafted a detailed Reddit post titled, "Her Birthday Surprise Ruined My Life," chronicling everything, from the almost caught moments to the financial sabotage. I anonymized sensitive names but kept enough detail for people to see the betrayal clearly. Within hours, comments began flooding in. "This is heartbreaking. She's been manipulating you for years. You didn't deserve this. Stay strong. I can't believe the audacity to steal retirement funds on top of the affair." My phone buzzed nonstop. Texts, calls, messages from friends, distant relatives, even people I barely knew, all offering support or expressing shock. She saw it too. I made sure of it. Her panic, confusion, and fear were tangible in her voice when she called and pleaded, "Please take it down. I can fix this." I didn't respond. Her live reaction was catastrophic. She called everyone she knew, tried to convince friends and family that I was exaggerating, that the post was fabricated. But the evidence was overwhelming. Even David's company began auditing him after the digital trail led back to him. By the time law enforcement got involved, the affair, the financial theft, and the betrayal of family trust were all documented, irrefutable, and public. The final twist came as a shock. David had been embezzling from his company to cover his gambling debts. Our stolen funds had been funneled into covering his mess. The betrayal was bigger than I ever imagined. It wasn't just about love, lust, or emotional deceit. It was criminal, and it implicated both of them in ways that left no room for escape. Meanwhile, my children stepped up in ways I hadn't expected. They offered emotional support, helped me organize finances, and assisted in documenting everything for legal proceedings. Jake confronted David directly, demanding an explanation. Emma coordinated with our accountant to trace every dollar. Sophie, though far away, became our information lifeline, helping track digital communications. For once, my family came together not for celebration but for survival. And slowly, the numbness faded into a calculated determination to see justice served. Ice-cold revenge doesn't need guns or fists. It only needs truth, exposure, and accountability. If I'd known then what I know now, I would have started documenting her behavior years earlier, capturing those subtle signs before they escalated into complete chaos. Every almost caught moment, every small lie, every diverted bank transaction, they all became critical pieces of the puzzle. The evidence was overwhelming, and as the story spread online, I realized that justice could be social as well as legal. People were outraged, supportive, and empathetic. They understood the pain, the betrayal, and the courage it took to reveal it. The weeks after exposure were a blur of phone calls, legal notices, family meetings, and emotional reckonings. My wife attempted to negotiate, to spin narratives, to regain control. But the evidence was everywhere. She couldn't hide behind charm, manipulation, or false apologies. Every friend, every family member, every colleague who mattered had seen the proof. Every financial document, every almost caught moment, every incriminating message. It was all there, irrefutable. And I watched as her world slowly collapsed, just as mine had months earlier. Men over 50, let me tell you something. Betrayal doesn't just steal trust. It can rob you of decades of planning, of savings, of dreams, of your children's future. But exposure, documentation, and patience can restore a sense of control. You don't need revenge in the violent sense. You need consequences, accountability, and truth. If you've ever laid awake at 3 a.m. wondering if you're crazy, wondering if your spouse is hiding something, you know how sharp the instinct is, how precise the gut feeling can cut. I learned to trust it fully, to follow every whisper, every suspicious smile, every diverted bank statement. The stage was now set for the final act. Every detail meticulously documented, every almost caught moment recorded, every financial betrayal traced and publicly exposed. There were still surprises coming, shocks even I hadn't foreseen, and the last twist, the one that would cement the story in the minds of everyone who read it, was waiting just around the corner. Stay with me because part 3 will reveal the last twist, the full public fallout, and the final justice that finally made all of this worth enduring. By the time her birthday dinner rolled around, the tension in the house was palpable, though I kept a calm face, like everything was normal. I had prepared the table, lit the candles, and even arranged the flowers, but my mind was elsewhere, replaying the evidence, double-checking the timeline, and preparing for what would come next. I could hear her in the bedroom, whispering to David, laughing softly, too softly, in a way that made my stomach turn. I wanted to storm in, to yell, to demand answers, but patience had become my weapon. I had planned this for months, and I wasn't going to ruin the strategy with emotion. Finally, I called her into the kitchen, acting cheerful, pretending as though the morning had been a typical birthday. I handed her the bouquet, smiling like an idiot, and placed the wrapped gift in front of her. She hesitated, glancing at David with that "we're good, we're fine" look she had perfected over the years. That's when I made my move. I slid the folder across the table, the one containing everything. The secret account details, the spreadsheets, the receipts, hotel records, email exchanges, photographs, screenshots of texts, the whole timeline meticulously documented. Her eyes widened, her lips parted, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of real fear, the first true vulnerability she had shown since the beginning of this affair. "This is everything," I said calmly. "Every almost caught moment, every lie, every diversion, every dollar. I've been patient. I've collected proof, and now it's time for the truth to be public." I watched as her face paled, her hands shook, and the mask of composure slipped. David looked furious, nervous, caught like a deer in headlights. Then came the Reddit post. I uploaded everything in a single, carefully crafted post titled "Her Birthday Surprise Ruined My Life." The post included the complete financial trail, screenshots of messages, photos of hotel receipts, a timeline of every meeting, and even the almost caught moments that they thought I had missed. I kept enough anonymity for David to avoid full exposure at first, but the story painted him in unmistakable detail. Within minutes, the post went viral. Comments poured in. "Absolutely savage. I can't believe she did this. This is textbook betrayal. You didn't deserve this. Exposure is the only thing that will make them understand." My phone started blowing up. Texts, calls, messages from friends, coworkers, even distant relatives. Some were supportive. Others were furious on my behalf. And she saw it. Oh, she saw it. Her live reaction was something I could never have scripted. She called nonstop, texts flooding in with desperate pleas. "Please, please take it down, I can explain. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I love you, David and I. Please, it wasn't like that." I ignored them all. Every call, every message, only confirmed the depth of her panic. I could hear her voice shaking, her words frantic, while I sat there, silent, letting the consequences of her actions wash over her. Meanwhile, my kids had become allies in this battle. Jake, furious at David's betrayal, confronted him directly, demanding an explanation and accountability for the stolen money. Emma coordinated with our accountant to trace every transaction, ensuring nothing could be hidden or altered. Sophie, from her college apartment, monitored the online reaction, helping document comments, responses, and additional evidence of the fallout. They were angry, hurt, and shocked, but they stood with me, giving me strength I didn't know I still had. And then the final twist hit. Just as the post gained traction and her panic reached a fever pitch, we discovered that David had also been embezzling from his own company. The stolen funds he had funneled through my wife's boutique accounts were partially meant to cover a gambling debt he had accrued. Our family's stolen money had been unknowingly laundering his crimes. The police were called in after an anonymous tip from a neighbor who had seen some suspicious activity outside the hotel we had tracked. Now, my wife wasn't just facing exposure for the affair and financial betrayal. She was implicated in a potential criminal investigation. Her life, David's life, and the image of our perfect neighborhood couple crumbled completely. I watched the fallout like a spectator, even though I was the orchestrator. Friends who had doubted my suspicions now apologized, admitting they had seen odd behavior but didn't want to interfere. Colleagues at my workplace reached out with quiet support, offering help with the legal process. Every almost caught moment, every whispered lie, every diverted bank transaction, they were all finally visible to the world. The tables had turned. Ice-cold revenge, the way I had imagined it, wasn't violent. It was undeniable exposure, legal consequences, and total accountability. Her attempts to manipulate, to beg, to claim innocence were futile. Even David, who had assumed he could escape scrutiny by using her accounts as a shield, was cornered. Law enforcement froze his assets, investigated her boutique, and demanded a full accounting of every dollar. The stress on her was visible. She couldn't hide, couldn't charm her way out, couldn't deny what had been documented and witnessed. And yet, the last twist, one nobody anticipated, was the personal fallout within our community. Neighbors, friends, even some of her closest confidants began distancing themselves from her. She had lost reputation, credibility, and control, while I, though hurt and exhausted, had regained the narrative. If I'd known then what I know now, I would have started recording her behavior years earlier, capturing every subtle sign of deceit. Every almost caught glance, every financial diversion, every secret account. It would have been evidence long before the betrayal reached catastrophic proportions. But hindsight is always cruel, and I had to work with what I had. The process of exposure, the viral post, the legal fallout, it was exhausting emotionally and mentally, but it was justice in its purest form. As the days passed, the community continued to react. Messages poured in from Reddit, from acquaintances, and even strangers who had gone through similar betrayals. This is why documentation matters. You did the right thing exposing this. Stay strong. They'll never hurt you again. My phone never stopped buzzing. Every notification reminded me that the truth could never be silenced. My kids, once traumatized, were now proud of the way the situation had been handled. Emma told me she felt empowered to protect herself in the future. Jake swore he would never let anyone take advantage of his family again, and Sophie, despite being far away, said she finally felt safe knowing the truth was out. The final moments were almost cinematic. My wife called me one last time before her phone was disabled by legal authorities, begging, pleading, and crying. "I made a mistake. Please don't ruin me," she whispered. "You have ruined me," I said softly, and for the first time, I didn't feel a twinge of guilt. The words were true. She had ruined her own life through lies, deceit, and betrayal, and I had merely unveiled the consequences. She had gambled with my trust, with our children, with our finances, and she lost. By the end, the house, the accounts, the retirement funds, and the college money had all been secured. I had a team of lawyers helping me restructure finances, protect assets, and ensure nothing like this could happen again. David faced legal consequences for embezzlement, and my wife was navigating the fallout from both the affair and the financial deception. Public exposure had made it impossible for either of them to hide or manipulate the story. Every almost caught moment, every subtle lie, every hidden account, they had come back to haunt her. I was finally able to breathe again, though the scars of betrayal remained. I learned that love and trust could be shattered in a single day, but patience, evidence, and strategic exposure could rebuild a sense of control and justice. If I'd known then what I know now, I would have prepared for the possibility that the person I loved most could also be the one who destroyed my life, but I would also have known that accountability and truth are more powerful than anger or despair. Men over 50, if there's one thing I want you to take from this, it's this: betrayal can strike in ways you never imagine, from the person you trust most to the friend you considered family. Document, watch, protect your finances, and most importantly, trust your gut. Exposure doesn't have to be violent. It has to be thorough, undeniable, and public if needed. And once it's done, the justice it brings is far more satisfying than any private revenge. If I'd known then what I know now, I would have started this process years ago. But life teaches lessons in the harshest ways. The lessons I learned in this ordeal, the financial betrayal, the emotional deceit, the almost caught moments, the public exposure, the legal fallout, will remain with me forever. And yet, in the end, there was a sense of closure, a reclaiming of my life, my finances, and my family. If the story hit you square in the chest like it did me while living it, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell. Because the next betrayal I tell might just save you from living it yourself.